I'm Chase Norton, and I'm here with Sanjit Kumar Mishra. If I said that correctly, how are
Yeah,
you doing
yeah, that's
today?
correct. Yes. Hey, hi, Chase. Nice seeing you after a long time. And I
Great
think
to see
having
you.
a good conversation with you before we start.
Yep, yep.
Uh, yeah, I'm doing good. Hope you are also doing good. Enjoying my good time in my hometown in India, back in India.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm not sure if people know, but used to work at PayPal. Sanjit still works at PayPal.
Right.
I think you are now a technical product manager. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You used
That's
to
correct.
be member of technical staff, and then you made this
Yep.
transition.
Right. Yes. 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 That's correct, Chase. Uh, I
That's really cool.
and I did that because I would like to develop things, and at the same time I would like to work the product, build teams, and take things to the market, like which I think is necessary and suits the PayPal's vision of democratizing financial services.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know we were talking about it earlier, but it's not a path that I see often,
Yeah,
especially at that level, right? Um, because you're MTS and you made this pivot. And I
right,
also don't think I've worked with a lot of technical product managers. And so, yeah, like before we jump into this, and anyone watching, we have a lot to talk about. But I am kind of curious, especially as like I'm sure a lot of people are looking at career changes right now, right? They're
right.
looking at like look left and right. And can you just talk a little bit about that journey that you had of going from MTS into technical product manager, why you did it, any of that?
Yeah, so basically, throughout my career, I was a hardcore developer, and I would like to develop a lot of things. But I also have a startup mindset, right? Where basically, I would like to develop things, discussing with different people, not just uh, uh, only putting my focus on the technical things, rather uh, looking more from the product perspective. And I saw that opportunity in PayPal, where basically uh, I think PayPal is having a very open culture where you can discuss with
Yeah.
your leaders and you can discuss about your ambition and what you really want to do. So what I figured out is I would like to be technical, like stay updated with the recent trends and do having hands-on coding and doing stuff. And also at the same time I would like to work with the product teams, to envision the product that you want to develop, right, which is going to help our merchants or customers. And at the same time I feel a kick when basically I help someone growing in that career. So if
Yeah.
and there is not a very specific role which suits all these three visions of your side, like where you want to work for the people, grow them, help with whatever you know throughout your career, and then work with the product to envision something new for your customers, and then still stay technical. But fortunately, the senior leaders do support me, and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
in this role, and until now I'm enjoying it and learning
And
new things every single day. Yeah.
I'm sure. Do you work alongside engineering managers as well? And like, or like
Yes.
being a technical product manager, so there also is a separate engineering manager for the engineers as well.
No, I'm working as the engineering manager, and also I'm
Okay.
working along with the architects for the design and other things. Yes.
That's really cool. Yeah. I think also just having, you know, being an engineer, having the product manager understand those limitations before I
Right.
need to even like say them. Uh,
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Especially again, like at that level, I don't see that happening. And so, congratulations, man, on that. Um, like I was
Thank
saying,
you. Cheers.
as like we're all trying to make career changes.
Yeah.
But for today, like the reason why I wanted to kind of bring us together is just with AI, kind of ChatGPT hitting the ground running in November, changing the way we work, the way we think, the way we get information, the way we search for information. I think that combined with the economy and the layoffs and the whole tech industry, there's a feeling of like nervous energy in the air. There's a almost a feeling of like fear. And I
Right.
think fear grows in the darkness and in the quiet. It's
Yeah.
something that we can address if we talk and we get together.
Right. Right.
And so I wanted to bring us together, and I really appreciate you signing up and saying, let's do this. So
Sure.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Chase, for accepting my invitation. I think I would also like to talk about it, and like maybe if it helps anyone, it would be a great success for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, let's get right into it then, because
Yeah,
your background is in AI. So before we get
right.
into like where we're at today, like, how have you seen the industry change with like AI in terms of like where your background is to like where it is now? Like, yeah.
Right.
What's that been?
So before that, I would just like to take 2 minutes to
Sure.
explain the current things that's happening around the market.
Sure.
So like historically, I was part of the organization which are like 200, 250 years old. In my previous career path, and now I'm part of a new age technology company with PayPal,
Hmm.
and the things we are seeing in the market is basically mostly with the new age technology. If you have analyzed it, like the all the big companies, so these are all new age companies.
Hmm.
So the large companies, when I say basically who are having a large presence in the organization like Airbus, Siemens, Honeywell, those kind of companies, right? So they have seen everything. Those who are 200 to 250 years old, even the banks, right? The large
Yeah.
banks, uh, except so basically they have seen all these things. So they have seen wars, they have seen the depression, they have seen uh, like market crashing, market going up, all these things. So they are basically having the resilience framework in place deep within their framework, and they work in that model. Whereas the newest technology, they have never seen that, right? Like they have
Hmm.
never seen a kind of a war, or they have never seen depression. They have never seen market crashing to a huge content and basically geopolitical situation changing. And when this thing happens, basically, if you don't have a proper resiliency framework in like within the organization, and if you on the time if you decide what we should do and what we shouldn't do, then things go in the wrong direction. So I would say this is a good thing happening for the tech industry,
Yeah.
because it is basically testing the resiliency framework that we have across the organization. And I think there'll be a lot of learning for all these organizations from this. And when next time, like I don't wish this kind of things would happen, but if next time it happens, all the companies will be better prepared and they will take the better steps. So I think no need to uh, like to the second point, right? The coming of the new technology and all. So it's always there. It is just that like when the technology starts coming, people start getting panic. Like you can say any technology, right? When the IDs come, when basically the database comes, when people move to the cloud, the mainframe system, still a lot of company do use mainframe, though,
Hmm.
so whenever any new technology comes, people start getting panic, but once they learn the things, they think, yeah, this is the best thing that happened to the world. Imagine don't having databases,
Yeah.
right? Like Oracle Cloud, not having cloud, not having the network speed that we get, how the world would be.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And so with kind of like your background in AI and now where you are today, looking at if anyone's tuning in, like I quit PayPal in November, so I've kind of like this entire like recent run of like AI. I've been on the outside of the
Right,
kind of big tech fintech companies, and I as I've been building out my own stuff using AI, I've always been wondering, like, what is it like inside the doors of like these, the large companies? I can imagine, right?
right,
Uh,
right.
but knowing the efficiency and the productivity and the speed at which I now produce by using these tools, how is the industry inside of these large companies changing? How
Right.
is the culture changing? Is any like do you notice there's like a whisper of like already things are moving faster, or yeah, what's it like in there that you can kind of talk about?
Right. So I think you asked two questions, right? First question is about my experience with AI,
Mhm.
like before, and how basically things are changing after the generative AI coming to the picture.
Yep.
So, so AI is not something which is new, right? I think it's there from quite while, and people are learning and they are doing a lot of AI ML things. So I think I worked on autonomous vehicle domain, where basically we are working with many different organizations to build autonomous vehicles. And
Mm,
and like unlike the regular software, the autonomous field is hard critical, right? Like we say like when you make some acceleration, it should accelerate. When you put your brake, it should put the brake. And earlier things are mechanical, but now things are not mechanical. And when you talk about AI in the cars, right, there are usually different phases, like we call it 5 phases, right? Like same
mm,
in the GPT, there are many stages, right? One, two, three, four, five. So basically, stage one is basically when you do a little bit of AI, where you put the brake, you put the acceleration, and it decides. And then we move gradually to cruise, then hands on, then hands off, and all these things. So when you drive your cars on the road, you see a lot of images, right? So you have to process those images. And MATLAB, I think many would have heard about the company name. And along with Siemens, like where I was working, I had some quite a like a bit of experience out there. So we are basically keep learning our system through the with the cloud, and then building the model so that the car understands its environment better. And
gotcha.
also there is one connected car technology which I think it's still not that much out, but it's been in talk, where car can talk to each other. So all these things are possible because of AI. If AI would not have been there, then basically if you don't learn your mistakes, right? The machines don't learn their mistakes,
Yep.
then you can modernize them. Like how the Robert Ford, the who invented Ford, right? He said, if we keep inventing a better candle, so if we keep producing better horse, then we will never reach the speed. So then he developed the car, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think to the second question, right? How the chat GPT is helping in any large organization. So I can only share my experience what's happening in the current organization where I'm working. So basically, definitely it is there, right? So and I think you are also being part of PayPal, and like whenever there is something new technology, I think that comes, we basically do experiment. We have a very good team who basically support in experimenting. So we have, I think, a lot of interesting use cases, right?
Yep.
Like we can help our merchants with better suggestions. We can help them to take better financial decisions. We can help them in making better decisions of our sites, with the
Or risk.
conversation that they are having, and also the risk. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
risk
Yeah.
is definitely yes, and also the risk, avoiding risk, and identifying them the right customers they want to reach to. So there are endless possibilities out there, but
Yep.
as an organization, it's not very straightforward that you go ahead and use any new technology, right? Straightforward. There are a lot of
Yep.
pilots, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of other things that happens, and also like a lot of approvals and these kind of things also is required, because we are having our customers' faith with us, right? And we have to be very careful with the same, that we are not doing anything that is going to be harmful for them. But
Yeah.
in terms of ChatGPT, yes, there are a lot of things happening, and I think very soon we will see, everybody will see the same.
That's cool. That's cool. I I've heard whisperings, not at PayPal, but more from like the open AI side of enterprise ChatGPT. So
Yes.
getting getting it so that it is walled off, right? Because
Right.
we'll get into some of the audience questions in just a little bit, but one of the questions is what happens with it being trained on inaccurate data, right? And data that is
Right.
kind of like being fed by other inaccurate AIs and whatnot. And a lot of those problems become non-existent when you wall it off and you just
Right.
train it on your
Right.
internal data.
Right.
And I think that that's going to be an interesting direction and will help a lot in the ways that I'm sure enterprise worries about. What was it? Was it Samsung? I
So
think that
so
just announced. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So regarding that, I would say like what is the common problem we see currently with the chat GPT, which is public problem,
Mhm.
which is a public plugin, right, which is available to everyone. So we see biasness out there in some or some other way. We see there is contextual, lack of contextual awareness, right, in some of the data because the data has been trained in such a way,
Yep.
and sometimes you don't want like see you don't want to be very specific, right, but you get a very generalized output from the chat gpt, which is again is kind of a waste of your time, right, which you could have done with say like some google search or something. And there is factual inaccuracy in a lot of things, right, that is a major concern for anyone. And also we see a lack of common sense in some places, and the sometimes sensitive data are getting exposed, right.
Yep.
Like that's the problem we see with the current ChatGPT. I'm sure those are going to be solved in the coming version, right? I think many people, I think including you also, working on the same direction to how we can improve this generative AI technology so that these biases or like the incapabilities can be addressed. Now
Yeah.
coming to the organization, right? So basically, any organization we take, right? So their data is private to the organization,
Hmm.
and you will see, right? Same thing happened with the cloud adoption. So we can compare this with the cloud adoption,
Good point.
right?
Yeah.
So basically, when AWS, Azure, or GCP, right, they came into picture, most of the startups or the new companies, right, they immediately took them up. But if you see the large organization, they are still migrating to the cloud, right? And it's
Yep.
not like, and if you when you go to the banks, right? So I also I have some exposure to the bank, and I worked on their cloud migration. Right? We are migrating from the premises to the uh, private cloud, then private, but the they, like there's some time when it comes, right? You cannot use your private cloud. It is going to cost you huge, okay? And developing those capabilities, right, searching, logging, and all kind of these things, right, which we get from the cloud, like aws, azure, right, gcp. Then you basically don't have the option, like you start migrating gradually to this cloud environment and see, because or at least the information that is uh, in a class which can be like if at all it is getting leaked, then your company is not going to be in a difficult situation. So
Yeah.
those kind of services we gradually moving to the cloud. So I think with this technology it will be in the similar fashion, that like that's what I think. If you might, like I might be wrong, but how the cloud adoption happened from the private cloud, right, where basically companies have their own hardwares installed, right, to moving to this company. So I think it is also gradually going to happen in the same fashion, where gaining more confidence. But I think it is the responsibility of the AI provider to to give that uh, comfortness, or give that confidence to the users, or the large organization, that the user data will be secure. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's one thing that I've heard about why companies are thinking, even though currently Google's Bard and Google's like large language model doesn't seem to perform as well as GPT-4, uh, companies feel safer with Google at enterprise
Right.
level. And
Right.
so I think that that's one argument that people are making for why that adoption in enterprise might happen with Google instead of OpenAI. But one area that, as I've been, I mean, I was telling you this earlier, like I use AI in everything that I do, every like every minute, every hour of every day, I'm using it in some way. And one thing that I think will really be groundbreaking once these companies adopt it is really the onboarding process. Like forget
Yep.
all of like the complexity of will it write my code for me and all of that. Like, but just looking at like documentation, gone will be the days of tribal knowledge.
Right.
And that I like you'll have new hires day one making a commit or day one releasing
Right.
product.
Right.
Um, yeah. Well, any thoughts on like the change this will have on the onboarding process?
Right. So basically, see, it's not only the adopting the tools, right? Because this is a like basically when you get the chat GPT, right, you basically is going to adopt the LLM model that it have, right, for your organization, and you have to spend a huge amount of effort in training your data, your organization
Hmm.
data, which basically you have to convert it into a format that the LLM understands, right? Because
Hmm.
definitely we are not going to reinvent a new LLM. Uh, of course, right, we're going to make use of some organizations, right? Otherwise, uh, I think many organizations are not going to invent their new LLM. So when you
Yep.
basically
Correct.
spend it that much effort uh, with the current change in industry, right, with the kind of competitions that we have among the products, right, which is
Hmm.
healthy competition, but still, you have like the companies have to decide whether they want to invest, right, in this kind of thing, which basically they have to do a lot of brainstorming that whether they want to invest in terms of human resource, right, in
Yeah.
adapting their data to which supports the GPT. So that will be one part of one major challenge in terms of the onboarding, because when it comes to the large organization, it end of the it matters a lot, right? Like there should not be an impact to the customers who are using their product. There
Yep.
should not be an impact to the investors who basically is believe in that company and they are investing. So that's
Absolutely.
going to be a major challenge in like while onboarding. Apart from that, I think AI is there, is already there in many in I think almost all the big organizations, right? It's just that
Hmm.
the way it is advancing with all different tools, how we are adopting them, and I think they will, like all the organizations will start adopting it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, AI is definitely, as you know, and I know, AI has been around for. I mean, I think it was 1956
Yeah,
that neural networks were
right.
invented. Uh, and so I do get that a lot when I'm talking to people of like, AI has been around for a while. And it's like it has, but
Yeah,
the capabilities of these large language models to essentially provide a new way to learn and a
right.
new way to consume information is
Yes,
something that uh, like ideas used to be something that I don't want to say were expensive, but like it took you always had someone that was like the expert in X, the expert in Y.
right, right.
And this is removing that a little bit. I
I,
even
I,
wonder
I
to go ahead. Yeah.
sorry, I'd like to double click on that part because that is
Yeah.
another field that I think that is the concept of domain specific languages.
Yeah.
Basically, the point you are talking about, right? I think you are expert in X and you don't want to do Y, right? So basically, we solved a lot of problem in that. So I'm just giving a few examples, right? So
Mhm.
in an insurance organization, right? So the advisors, they basically write very complex mathematical formulas, right? And then they give that formulas to the engineers, and then the engineers to code them in the code and put them in the website, and then it works. And it's not going to be that like this statement, like this much straightforward. It like
Mhm.
there is a lot of conversation that is going to happen between the advisor who is giving the requirement and the engineer who is basically writing the code. And also there needs to be good amount of testing they have to do, because finally it's the money that people are like which is going to impact the people, right?
Yep.
So as part of the DSL, right, what we are doing is we are generating the code. That's what we are doing. And there is a product called JetBrains
Yep.
MPS, which is from the JetBrains, I think, built on same idea platform that we all use, right? IntelliJ. Um, so there are a lot of things that was happening before. Like I would say there are like I worked on the three major domain specific providers, right? One is Visual Studio Code, I think that let's use the LSP, right? Language Server Protocol. So that thing that's going
Yep.
crazy when the time it's come to market. But the other two major players are basically JetBrains, who have an idea platform,
Hmm.
or like which basically works on the AST, and then we have Eclipse, the EMF, the Eclipse modeling framework. So the space domain, the insurance domain, the banking domain, the autonomous domain, they all are using it, and then they are generating the code, so that basically they reduce the time, right, to the market. And these tools, which basically generate the code, they basically time tested a lot of ISO certification they have completed, and so on. But now imagine AI coming to the picture, right? The certification and all these things can be done using one tool, and the time to market will increase for anything, right? So basically you
Yeah.
can translate your product requirement, right, directly into code, or basically people will be focusing more on delivering things other than coding things, which
Yep.
is like when I say that, I don't mean that, like you forget your coding, because that will be like that is going to be critical. And this generating these models, right, which transfer your domain knowledge to your code, like how you do the memory
Yep.
optimization, how like how you handle your data structures. All these things are going to make like play a very critical role, where you
Hmm.
write very less syntax. Even I think throughout, I think you are also on the same like I think we joined the industry and the same time. So if you remember the way we code before and the way we code now, we write very less code. We write only the
Yeah.
logic part, right?
Yep.
So so earlier you built you built a web application. It takes maybe I think some days. Right now, with few clicks with the Spring Boot, you just there you your website is up and running, right, with 5 minutes. So it's all there. It's just that
Yeah.
it's changing. It's changing for the good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've used GitHub Copilot, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's changed. And GitHub Copilot is trained on, I think, GPT-3, and they're releasing Copilot on GPT-4 soon. But I can tell you, like, just today I was writing. I feel like I write programs with AI, like it's my peer programmer. And to anyone watching this that has concerns, and I want to know your opinion on some of these concerns, but it is wrong about 70% of the time, and I have to guide it into giving a solution that I can use. And so people, and this is GPT-4 that I'm interacting with, and it is wrong the, a majority of the time.
Correct.
And so this isn't something where the human is ripped out and we just start saying, write this for us. You have to have a good engineering understanding, capacity, knowledge. You have to know when something isn't efficient, when it's not optimized, and you have to ask for it to be optimized. You have to know when something doesn't look right or isn't architected correctly. Uh, and in the end, the better you can explain what you need, the better it will give you. But in order to explain what you need, you have to know how to ask for it, right? You have to know
Correct.
your stuff. And so, as you were kind of saying, like right now, people are feeling maybe like, I don't know, like stressed or confused of like, do I even need to do engineering work anymore? And I've heard like people saying, do I even need to go to college to get computer science degree anymore? Like it's that extreme. And so do you have an opinion on like what to say to people that are, I don't know, like worried right now, uh,
Yeah.
and worried
So
about not having an engineering job anymore?
yeah, so I think engineering will be there always, right? It's just
Yeah.
that uh, uh, the way we are doing the engineering is going to change.
Yep.
Like when I talk about, right, like say the memory and like take a very simple example, like memory and the throughput improvement, right? So
Hmm.
I think earlier, if you are considering data, right, which is say like few MBs or GBs, right, when you consider the data which basically you want to process, it's a big thing, right? And then now if you see, imagine, right, you be in that state and somebody asks you to handle it, TBs of data. Can
Hmm.
you, right? It's not possible. It's not possible unless you have some technology like BigQuery or something, right? Where basically it facilitates. It takes a lot of things, right? Or the high processing systems.
Yep.
So it is required. And the thing is, the problems that the human being gets, right? It's going to be complex day by day.
Yep.
Okay, so that's one thing. Same with the throughput, right? So earlier, if your page loads, say it takes 20 seconds, 30 seconds, right? People are okay. People are fine with it. Okay, this is something they're newly they are seeing, and even if you send a text message, right? If it reaches to the other side, say like 2 minutes, people are fine with it. But now we want everything instant, right? We want in seconds, milliseconds.
Hmm.
So to achieve this demand in the market, right? We want this kind of technology to help us. Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise people will think it's impossible. Like when we're envisioning going to a different planet altogether, right? I think, and when we're envisioning to make everything accessible so easy, making people life so easy, then we need all this technology to help us. And
Yep.
all these technology are coming because of engineers. And the right use of this technology can only be done by if you have sufficient knowledge in engineering. Otherwise, I don't know. Otherwise, it is going to be very tough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also at your level of like MTS, you were you hands-on coding or were you more kind of
Yeah,
architecting solution? Okay. Yeah.
hands-on coding. Yeah,
Because I think we're going to see people moving more, as you say, like your role and your responsibility will change. It's moving more into communication of the architecture, communication of the
right.
strategy and the plan.
Yes,
And
yes,
that is something that I know I've talked to some people that when they hear like, well, we're going to transition, your job's going to change. They're like, no, but I like to touch the keys. And it's like,
yeah,
you will, don't worry. Like, but
right,
it's going to change in how
yeah,
you can, like what you can do and how you do it. Um, yeah, yeah. It's something that for me, what to anyone that has concerns, what I can tell you is it breaks down that fear of like what I want, what I wish could happen is hard to do. And what I mean by that is like right now, if you want to write a plugin for VS Code and you don't even know how to do it, and you might think there's 18 steps and four documentations and all this stuff, just go ask ChatGPT. I want to write a VS Code plugin that does this and ask it like to write the code for you. And it's not that it will
yeah,
get it right, but you'll see all the steps and you'll be like, got it.
right,
And then you'll be able to build it in 30 minutes. And you'll be able to go from this very impossible task to doable. And I think that's where we're going
right.
to see the industry start. Like those barriers are going to break down.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I would just like to share a very recent example of why investors
Yeah.
should not be worried, right? So basically, like I stay in the eastern part of India, and then here
Hmm.
basically we have this government workers who basically go and take a lot of reports of the people, right? Those who are basically kind of socially backward. So they basically ensure that they are getting everything or not. And
Okay.
all those data is basically filled in a sheet. Basically, many people don't have access to mobile phone. I think nowadays most of them do have, but some don't have the access to mobile phone. So basically, they fill these details, and then earlier they used to manually upload these details to Excel sheet. Okay, and
Yeah.
then that goes to the government data record. Now I saw it's already happening. So basically they got a mobile phone, and they have the application, they just scan the image that is filled by the residents, and it just uploads, and there is
Yeah.
just one person who validates whether the data is right or wrong. And that's like, there is also like I'm not sure, some kind of AI they are using in the background.
Yeah.
Basically it tells
Yep.
whether it is right or wrong. Okay, because maybe like if in the same family, then you shouldn't be feeding wrong like duplicate details, right? Like one person shouldn't be saying something else. So this is how it is transforming, right? And when say basically, like India population is like it is a we have a huge population, and when you
Hmm.
want to solve these kind of problems, right, we need this kind of technology to help us.
Yep.
Otherwise, we'll not be. So as engineers, it is our responsibility to bring these kind of things and like make the world a better place. So we
Yeah.
shouldn't be worried
Yeah.
about this thing, other learning this thing and utilizing for our startup ideas, or whichever organization we're working, because I think all organizations work for their customers. So basically we help the customers and those kind of things.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even with you as like you made your transition in your career, it's this idea of a growth mindset, right? And
Yep.
we hear it like all the time, but like if you aren't hearing it, like it's this idea that like you can be better tomorrow than you were today, and you
Right.
can be anything that you want to be. Actually,
Right.
it just takes trying. And
Right.
I think that the people that adopt that mentality and live it, live and breathe it, are the people who are going to really benefit in the future using this
Right.
tool. And I think, you know, you're a case study of that with like your transition, but also everything that you're saying of
Right.
it's about being growth mindset oriented, and you'll
Right.
be okay as long as you are, right? As long as you're
Right.
adaptable, right?
Right. Right. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also coming to the adaptability, right? So if you see earlier, like some time back, if somebody says, I don't know what is BCS, right, or
Mhm.
what is version controlling, or if somebody says, I don't know how to say use the ID, right, then it's, I think, kind of okay. People will give you some scope to learn, right? Okay, you learn about BCS, you learn about the IDs, how they functions,
Yep.
and you learn about DevOps. But now you can't afford to say that.
Yeah.
You should know what is efficiency. You should know what is the IDE. Otherwise, you can't code. You can't write simple text.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
like yeah. So and I think that's going to happen with the AI, with the generative AI, right? Because generative AI opens a door to a lot of things. Earlier AI was very different, where you have to basically train your models, right?
Yep.
And then you don't have your hands on the AI unless you train a model. But now it's all changed. The AI is there for you. It is like you don't have to do anything. It is just there for you. You just use it.
Yeah, I was listening to the CEO of Google talk about this in a podcast recently, where he said, you know, I what he's most excited for is everyone having their own personal assistant,
Mm.
and it made me kind of like sit back and just think about maybe him and like what it means to have a personal assistant. I've never had one. And you can probably be 10x of what you are, 100x of what you are if you ask someone, please go write this, please go research this, please go get the information about this, yada, 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 right? And having that is a luxury, but it also is a efficiency booster. And that is what he's saying when he says he's excited for us all to have that, because we do now. Like we have this
Right,
assistant to be able to help us in so many ways that our brain would have gotten stuck, or we would have spent weeks trying to learn,
right,
but instead you just you unblock yourself immediately.
right.
And i I don't know, you and I were saying like I just this is such a cool time to be alive, and it's so cool to be an
Right,
engineer during this time.
right.
Be excited for the future of engineering,
Yep,
not worried about its demise, because this is just the beginning. And
yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
um
AI is definitely going to
yeah.
change. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So we also we asked the audience for some questions. We've kind of gone a little bit back and forth on where we're at today with AI. Um, I yeah, I want to jump into some of those questions just to make sure we have time,
Sure.
because we got about 20 minutes left. Um, One of the questions that was asked, love to know your thoughts on this, is how can AI models overcome the challenge of understanding the nuances and context, which is critical for any AI model to prove transformative?
Yeah.
What
Yep.
what's your thoughts there?
Yeah. So basically, when we talk about AI and ML, right? So basically, they function logically, right? So I would take, I think, the AI technology which is already there, they are solving this problem, right? So basically, AI
Mhm.
worked on supervised, unsupervised learnings, right? So like I'd exemplify that with the autonomous vehicles, right? So basically, when we see a person going, right, say in the
Mhm.
in the road, then the AI understand, okay, there is a person going on the road, he will walk straight, right? But what happens if the person take a right, sudden right? Because it's a human being, it's his wish, right? His or her
Yeah.
wish. So now when one person do that, then the AI get itself trained, right? That if it's a human being, then if he's moving, then from his body language, it will understand which direction he may come. And then accordingly, it will take a decision. So the same thing will happen with the data. But the only thing with the data is, like the point that I was talking about, the downside of the AI that we see currently, the biasness, the contextual, even the contextual
Mhm.
or the sensitivity to prompt and all these things, right? So these things needs a better training of the AI data, and that is going to happen. And people are like when we say we are mapping our data to the LLM model, right? So during that phase, people will take this conscious steps, and then basically it is going to get better every day. I read in news where basically they said like, um, in Italy they basically banned ChatGPT,
Yep.
and then there is a funny tweet around it, right? That somebody asked ChatGPT that, can you put pineapples on top of pizzas? And then ChatGPT said, "Yes, you can. It's your choice."
Yep.
So it's funny, but like sometimes it may hurt. Like it may be true, right? That to some it may hurt the sentiment. So when these kind of things
Yeah.
happens, the language model learns itself. So I think with that way, this problem will be solved.
I agree. I agree. And shameless plug for Message AI. We when we found out about the
I
ban in Italy, we went ahead and made it. So we were always compliant in Italy, and so if you want to talk to GPT-4 and you live in Italy, visit messageai.io and you'll be able to. But that was I think foreshadowing of kind of some of the politics that we're going to see coming into
Right.
this is like
Right. So
I. Yeah.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
I think so. No, I would like to add a few things about it, right? So basically, if you
Mhm.
see now, the major challenges that the large social media companies, right, like Facebook, Google, or even Microsoft, sometimes they get is how they can basically remove the content which is harmful, right,
Mhm.
which is not good for the humanity, or which is not good for the country or something. So AI can solve that problem for them to
Yep.
to by continuously training its own model, and I think they might be already working uh, on this part. So I think we shouldn't be worried about how this kind of like when it is come to the new nuisance or insensitive data is going to get trained by the GPT models, or basically this generative AI thing, because we are having a worse version of it available in the market, right, through different Twitter, Facebook. So it is going to get better. It's not going to get in a wrong direction. Not going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is some concern about what if because it's trained on a lot of data from the internet. What if the internet starts to become flooded with AI content? And if it's being trained on its own content and that content is incorrect and it becomes
Yeah.
at scale. But I think there's a lot of different
I,
areas that we can go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to answer that question. So
Please.
see, we have the Gmail, right? We have the Gmail, and then basically, if you see, we get flooded with a lot of emails, right?
Mhm.
I think most of us, because we share our phone numbers and email address in all different sites, and they
Yeah.
all try to reach out. Do we face problem with that? I think the answer is yes and no both. If you have
Mhm.
managed your Gmail well, right, then you will not face the problem. If you have categorized the things, if you have if you move things to spam which you don't like, right, then eventually your Gmail experience would be good. But if somebody is not doing that, then they will quit Gmail, right? If they're sharing the thing, the same thing is going to happen. So the people who are behind this generative AI technology, right? They know, right? People are going to spam, people are going to create this thing, but they will
Yep.
take the conscious decision, right? On how and what are the things to spam. Like I'm just taking in terms of Gmail, right? What are things to spam? What are things to mark is important? Like how to categorize them, or label them, and all these things. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I think it shouldn't be a problem. That's what I think, because good people are working behind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it's funny also like listening to the CEO of Google talk about this, it made me I always think of Google as like the innovator, the best of the best, right? And they are
Right.
in so many ways.
Yeah.
But hearing the speed, seeing the speed at which OpenAI is putting stuff out there,
Yeah.
and not I don't want to use the word reckless, but like quick, right? Very fast. They're putting it out there, seeing what people how people respond, and hearing Google take this kind of like slower, calmer approach. For the first time, I was like, it feels safe. Like it was interesting hearing it because like break stuff, move fast. Like it wasn't. It's like they're Google is taking this like very methodically, very slow, because as you said, good people are working on it, and I believe that as well. And no one wants to kill humanity, and so like good people are working on it. I'm just glad some
I
of the best people are working on
yeah.
it as well.
I I would also like to share my observation around the same, right?
Sure.
So you see the business model of Microsoft, right? And you see the business model of Google. Google
Mhm.
major earning is through advertisements, right? Whereas Microsoft's major earning is through subscriptions,
Mhm.
right? So basically, unless Google figure out right how they can basically market advertisements through this kind of platform, for them going live and speaking openly about it, I don't think it's going to uh, suitable for them, right, or their investors. They first have to
Yeah.
figure out how they can basically market advertisements or basically kind of those kind of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Which is their USP, or which is Google's basically thing. Whereas for
Yep.
Microsoft, it's not the case. Microsoft works on subscription, right? People takes their product, they use them. So basically, sooner they release the AI, it is th- their product should be subscribed more, right? So the
Yeah.
marketing revenue of Microsoft is not that much. So I have that
Yeah.
analogy. That's the reason, and even I also used Bird, right? So it puts something like this kind of the biases that we have for the generative text, right? So the same thing
Mhm.
people do have sometime back for the Google. They say, don't believe Google, whatever you Google, don't believe them, because it may be misleading, it may be biased, it may be.
Yeah.
So all these comments are for Google. But now if you see people start believing Google, right? Everybody, we just Google thing and we just confirm that, yeah, this is something. So yeah,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to figure out how to bring this safely,
yes,
responsibly. Um, yeah, absolutely. All right. Last question that I think we have time for is how can we ensure that the output of the AI model is not biased based on inaccurate data sets? And so this kind of relates to our previous question,
you're
but
right.
and even what we were just kind of talking about, like with Bard. Um, yeah. Is there any thoughts there? Any
Right.
additional
So
thoughts?
yeah. So basically, I like there are two things, right? Someone asking this question from an organizational perspective, and someone asking this question in general, right? So from an organizational perspective, I don't think organizations are going to believe the publicly available data so soon. Okay, it's going to take a huge amount of time for them to believe the publicly available information is right. They're going to use it for
Yeah.
the in-premise information that they have, and so that how they can basically help, help the customers, right? But in general, when you talk about such kind of things, how we can believe the data, right? So for this, basically, we uh, I think there will be multiple. Um, multiple things that the company should start doing. They should, I think, take help from. I think they might be taking already. They should be taking help from people like if you know Google Local Guide, right? You might have heard about it, right? Google Local Guide, where basically you
Yep.
see the information in the map, but some information are not correct, right? So basically it can give you misleading information, like say you are looking for a bank and you just go there, right? And the bank is not there, so basically you wasted your time, fuel,
Yeah.
and also your energy, and also a bit of frustration. So the same thing if you can apply to here. So what Google is doing is they are having local guide. So if you go there, you're frustrated, you just upload an image saying the bank is not there, and immediately Google changes it, right? So basically, it's a collective effort from everyone
Well
to
said.
ensure that
Yeah.
the right information pass. Same thing I think is going to happen with the ChatGPT. So definitely, it's a robot or it's a program. It's not a human being, or I think, who basically memorizes and tell you things and validate things, but but some human being have written this, right? So it do have some kind of brain of a particular human who basically, based on certain steps or programs, they decide whether what information to pass, what information not to pass. And as we correct the language model, I think it is going to be more accurate going forward.
I think that's really well said. All right, we have a few minutes left. I have kind of one last question for you, and then definitely anything that you'd like to share. But kind of this podcast, this discussion, whatever you want to call it, is about kind of forecasting the future. What are we
Right,
looking for? And I think that's a question a lot of people are asking. And
right,
so, what can you share for the 18-year-old that's graduating out of high school, the person that's looking at college or graduate or going into the industry? What can you tell them? The people that are worried, what would you like to share with them to kind of give hope and to yeah, get excited?
right. So like basically the same thing I told to few college grads also. Yeah, basically when I met them. So the reason why we chose engineering, right, is because we want to, or the motive of the engineering, like the motive of a doctor is to cure patients, right?
Hmm.
The motive of an engineer is to invent things, is to make
Yeah.
people lives easier, right? Whether you work as a startup, or you work for an organization which have a good motive, or basically you do freelancing. Okay, whatever
Hmm.
you do, basically you are kind of solving some kind of problem, and that mindset should be there with you. Otherwise, in this world, when it is keep on changing, if you just go thinking like some company is paying me, so that basically I will go, I will do whatever task is assigned to me, that's not going to work in the future. And I
Yeah.
think now also those people who grow, right, when I think we also work together in PayPal. So if you see the kind of conversation that we have within the teams, we never stand still, right? We basically
Yep.
start doing things. So that's one thing. Now second thing, coming to the technology advancement, right? So it's a good thing to do. So basically you take anything, right? So like we the Kafka, Kafka, the messaging queue, the
Hmm.
like imagine we don't have Kafka, right? Imagine we don't have BigQuery. Yeah, imagine we don't have the IntelliJ or Eclipse like IDEs, right?
Yep.
How the world would be, or how the life of ours will be. Coming to the change in the AI, so basically it's going to change everything, right? So when I say it is going to change, so engineering is there in the medical field, engineering is there in the agriculture, engineering is there in the space, it's there in the shipment industry. Everywhere you see engineering is there.
Yeah.
And when I say engineering, I'm talking about the software engineering, and also in the cars, like everything you see, right? It's all now getting more intelligent, more softwares and all. So we should look how we can leverage it, right? So I belong to currently I belong to the payments domain, right? So now we
Hmm.
see a lot of people are facing fraud, right? Basically, they're losing their hard-earned money. They are getting into stress, financial stress, and a lot of other things. Also, a lot of sellers, when they have a motive, right, or somebody who is starting up, they have a motive to basically earn money and help the world, right? But they shouldn't be blocked by this fraud and all, because there are always good people and bad people. so
Yeah.
so how we can improve their experience, right? When it comes to the fraud, when it comes to the experience in the choosing the right product, or targeting the right audience, right? So that's the something we can help everyone with. So we have to go in that mindset where basically we feel pride, we take pride to be an engineer and to innovate things. So I would suggest to look into those things, and definitely um, uh, adopt all the new technology, right, which is proven. Don't adopt the technology which is not proven, because if you see, right, technology world is ever changing, and there are thousands of new uh, ideas, new concepts, new technology are there. But if something is well proven, like something Chat GPT, right? It's all
Hmm.
well proven. Companies started adopting. Then do look for this kind of technology. Don't limit yourself.
Well said. You heard it there. Be excited for the future. I
Yeah.
I
Yes.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
are one example of it, right? I think if somebody follows you, they will understand how you are doing things, and I think it's a very good example if this follows you. Yeah.
I appreciate it. It is something that I to anyone that wants to be inspired, it inspires me. Every day it allows me to build faster, quicker, more.
Right.
It breaks down every barrier that you could imagine, and I mean that any barrier that you can imagine is gone when it comes to technical mental challenges. Um, and so explore, play with it. I think also I've heard, I forget who said this, which leaders said this, but that we're going to see the barrier to becoming an engineer lowered.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I hope no one hears that in a bad way. Like hears that in terms of like this elite thing. What it means is that to all those people that maybe at 10th grade weren't able to make it, and so their whole life changed because maybe they didn't understand calculus or something. It's going to bring down that barrier so that people who want to build can build.
Right.
And you said it really well. Engineering is everywhere around us, right? It's in the
Right.
space, it's in the air. And if you want to be a builder, if you want to be an inventor, if you want to be a problem solver, this is a really cool time to be alive.
Right.
Um, could not agree more with you. All right, do you want to wrap up? Anything else you want to share?
No, I think we had a very good discussion, Chase, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think a lot of things to learn and exciting about the future in the AI. Hopefully, we'll meet again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I will say this: I miss PayPal so much in so many ways. I love where I'm at today, but I
Yep.
think PayPal will always have a great place in my heart. The people there, the culture there. So it has been amazing talking to you, Sanjit, and catching up, and just
Sure.
hearing about your side of life. Thanks for joining us. And everyone that watched, I've been watching you kind of pop in and watch for a good bit. Thanks for watching. Anyone who's watching this after the live, uh, just yeah, if you have questions, bring them up. Ping me, ping Sinji. Just like ask us, and we're here to help in any way that we can.
Sure.
It's about coming together and talking and solving this as an industry, as a community, and so we're here for that. So, Sinji, thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chase.
Yeah. All
Thank
right,
you,
everybody.
everyone.
See y'all later.
You. Bye bye.